just a few minutes walk away from the Prague Castle and the crowds of it, there's an area that is completely different. Area which looks like if a time would almost slow down or perhaps stop entirely. Right now, we are located in the Novy Svet, in English, the New World, a part of the city that is very close by to the Prague Castle. Essentially, it's still in the Prague Castle district. This place is very strange. Essentially, normally we are used to grandiose and mighty Prague, but this looks almost rural. This area, it resembles something completely different. It looks cozy. It looks small. There are small houses, tiny streets, cobbled areas. So, essentially, what was happening in here? In the past, historically, this place was home for servants and for craftsmakers that were working for the Prague Castle and the nobility that lived in there. In the past, Prague Castle was telling a story of greatness, of might, of power. But this area right in here, this place, was telling something completely different. It was a different side of the same coin that is called Prague. This place, essentially, told a story of survival, told a story of almost silence. It was a quiet corner nearby, a big monuments. Essentially, sometimes big cities are not just about monuments, but also about the small places that are around. This place, according to history, was a home to an old lantern keeper that lived in these areas. This lantern keeper is long time ago dead. Nowadays, there is still a ghost of his running around this area. People say and whisper that the lamps in here shine a little bit warmer than usually. It might be because of this ghost that is still keeping them safe from the elements of nature. So perhaps if you'll visit this place in the evening, when this area is almost completely quiet, you might notice that this area is quite different than normal places in Prague. So essentially, if you want a unique experience in Prague, I would really recommend for you to visit this area, the Novy Svet, New World. I hope you enjoy it. In the past, Prague was home to a lot of artists and a lot of scientists. For example, right in here we have a house where Tycho de Brahe lived for some time, a Danish astronomer. In the past, Prague was home to a lot of astronomers and astrologers. Essentially, for a long time, in the 16th and 17th century, Prague was home to a lot of these early scientists and alchemists. So, essentially, the history in here of science is very vast. Right now, we are a bit further into essentially the Prague Castle district. Right now, we are right next to the Prague Castle. And in here, there is one forgotten church by history. This is a military church designated to the Saint John of Nepomuk. Perhaps you have never heard about this saint. He is a patron of the Czech lands, John of Nepomuk was a man, a preacher that lived in here a very long time ago, essentially in the 14th century. This man and his symbol is 5 stars. That's also the reason why in front of his church we can see 5 stars on the ground. Sometimes it's really nice to look around the pebbles and the sidewalks of Prague, because sometimes they will also tell a story. We have around 130 patterns around in here, perhaps even more, that you can look around and perhaps you will see something very interesting, perhaps some kind of secret. So, just take care around in here. Perhaps on the ground there might be a treasure. Complex of Prague Castle is filled with palaces and giant buildings that in the past were owned by noble families that lived in this city. In the past, Czechia and Prague was part of the Bohemian kingdom, a monarchy. And this monarchy had a lot of nobles, a lot of rich aristocratic families in the past. Nowadays, there are only few present. And some of them, they still have honorable mentions. For example, in the Prague Castle. Some of these palaces are still named after these families that lived in here in the past. Right behind me, for example, we have the Schwanzenberg Palace, belonging to the family of Schwanzenbergs in the past. But again, there were a lot of more noble families around. Honorable mentions can be, for example, the Berkas from Dubé, Schwanzenberg, Stembergs, Rosenbergs, and a lot more that nowadays, unfortunately, are no longer around. But still, their legacy lives on with these mighty buildings and with history books that we have around. Central Europe is filled by these strange pillars, like this one that you can see behind me. They are known as the plague columns. In the past, they served a very important role. Essentially, in the past, there was a lot of plagues around. It was very common for people to die because of plagues, because of sicknesses and illnesses. So, essentially, during that time, people started to notice that and started to somehow do something about it. One of the ways how to fight the plagues was through these plague columns. Sometimes they served as a reminder that cities survived a plague in the past. And during plagues, they also served as a praying grounds, because churches sometimes were too dangerous to pray. Plagues were spreading around, and people noticed that. So because of that, sometimes the people would pray around the plague columns. Essentially, as plagues were a big problem for Central Europe, you will see quite a lot of them around even nowadays. Plague columns are one of the essential parts of the cities that we know nowadays in Central Europe. So, that's a backstory to these nice pillars that you can see around. Perhaps sometimes it's nice to notice these things. So, right in front of the Prague Castle, you might see a strange statue. This statue belongs to Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, our first Czechoslovak president. So, in the past, Czechoslovakia was not a country. It was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire for quite a long time. Before that, known as the Austrian Empire. To be exact, for 300 years. But after the First World War, Czechoslovakia became a country. And this man was very important for that. That's also why he became our first president, Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, sometimes also known as the Father Masaryk, Tatíček Masaryk for Czechs. So, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. In the future, we'll also make the video about the Prague Castle, so you have something to look forward to.